Hello, Rebecca. Thank you for your patience, and we're finally here. I thought yesterday was going to be the day, but I'd neglected to collect the photos from you, so apologies for that, but all is perfect. So I'm assuming that the transmission today will be even more clarified than it would have been yesterday, and that's the reason that it went that way. So thank you for sending the photos, also for that clarification. And I've read through your information a number of times now. So I read it today, I read it yesterday, and I read it when you first sent it. So I'm pretty familiar. And we'll just reiterate your questions. So number one, am I on the path to ascension? What specifically do I need to do to raise my vibration and be in the energetics of ascension? Number two, is it okay for me to put finding my passion on hold for a spouse that's having surgery and needs me to hold off from changing careers at this time? 3. How do I connect with my guides? Is it my lower vibration that is the reason I don't hear them? How can I connect with them? Are there specific things I can do to connect with them? So, I would say that these questions you have here are very much in the wheelhouse of my guides. Occasionally, I will get presented with questions, and when I read them, I think to myself, holy heck, how are we going to tackle this one? This is really pushing the limits of what's possible. But your questions, I like your questions, and my guides are going to enjoy answering these because these are the type of topics they like to speak about, and what they have, sort of like a depth of message in regards to. So let's commence. Greetings, Rebecca. Thank you for making the decision to come to us with these delightful questions. And we begin this way because, as Muzz inferred at the preamble to this channel, sometimes the questions are very challenging, and they are on topics which are not spiritual in nature. And if you have been a viewer of our regular messages, our messages are very philosophical, very much from the perspective of wisdom, rather than the more human machinations of the experience that you have here. So, we are looking forward to having a pleasant channeling experience and to bring through the information which will be useful and enlightening in your own life. So, the first part of your inquiry is regarding your ascension and your preparation for ascension. And you have specifically asked, are you on the path to ascension? And we would say the very first indicator that you are on the path to ascension is that you have asked the question. That in itself, for us, is a very prominent indicator that you are on the path, although it does not necessarily infer that you are ready for the ascension, but it means you are heading in the right direction. So, the way that you can increase your readiness is really to move further into the light. It is really that simple. So, to move further into the light means that you must relinquish the darkness and start being more present in this lightness end of the spiritual spectrum. We are aware that you are a viewer of our messages, and so we won't go into the amount of depth we do in our regular channeling, because we can perceive that you already get this concept of the lightness end, the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum, and the lightness end of the spiritual spectrum, and releasing from your identity any identification with the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum, so that you can identify more and more, or polarize into the light. So this really is a practical description of raising your vibration. And the more that you are able to do this, then the more you are calibrating to the energetics of ascension. So, in a practical sense about how this is done, what we would recommend to you is, as much as possible, live with virtue. So, when you are dealing with the situations in your life, even when it feels like it would be most productive or it would be most effective to perhaps bend the truth a little, we are suggesting that let go of that old way of being. And even though by being directly truthful, there may be the risk that your life will be a little less convenient, running a little less smoothly, we encourage you to do it anyway. Now, we're not inferring or implying that you are untruthful. All we're saying is, if you wish to be on the path to ascension, then it is important that you start living more saintly. That is, that you are acting from virtue as much as you can. When you are speaking to others and they are inquiring, or there's an opportunity for you to say something about them directly, then this would be the only situation where we would say that perhaps being absolutely forthright may not be the best case. But instead, what you could do is to convey to them some type of impression you have of them that is honest, but yet perhaps not brutal. So it is still possible to raise the level of your integrity. And again, we just want to specify, we're not implying that you act without integrity. However, as it is for nearly all humans on your planet, there is still some unrealized potential in the amount of integrity with which you can be. So, we are encouraging you to move into that untapped potential by acting with greater integrity in everything that you do. And do it with a celebration that you are making this movement into the integrity zone, into the virtue zone, into a way of being which is angelic, which is saintly. And when you can do this consistently and it becomes your new way of being, where you behave with utmost virtue at every opportunity in dealing with your family, in dealing with your work colleagues, in dealing with the outer world, everybody that you interact with, and also in dealing with yourself, then if you can do that with a sense of joy and a sense of gladness that you are making the decision to live in this way, then it can be a very fulfilling experience. It can and will make it very easy for you to elevate your sensibilities within the lightness end of the spiritual spectrum. Meaning that it will be very easy, compared to when you don't live this way, to experience gratitude, peace, happiness, joy, bliss, love. These will become much more attainable. And you will find very easily, very naturally, you spend much more of your time in those energetic states. And it will have arisen very directly from your decision to live as a virtuous being. When you live as a virtuous being, you are living very closely aligned to the truth of who you actually are. You are a being which has arisen from the light. And so therefore, when your identity is entirely congruent with the truth of who you are, then you are a being entirely of virtue. It is a very natural presentation. It's a very honest way of being. And when you are living honestly in this way, then any form of energetic turbulence or energetic eddies, where the energy, the truth of who you are, the energetic truth of who you are, isn't being diverted, isn't being obstructed, isn't being turned back in on itself, which creates eddies and turbulence, and therefore pathology and dysfunction in the way that you are, the way that you be. Then, in the absence of these redirections and eddies, the energy can flow very freely, very smoothly, very congruently. And that is why you are able to reach higher levels of the truth of who you are, because it is allowed to flow without obstruction. When there is a lot of internal conflict, there is a lot of obstruction, there is a lot of identifying with falsity about who you are. And so there is a over presence in the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum. Then it becomes more difficult to reach the upper vibratory zones of the spectrum of light. So you can experience gratitude, but you won't experience gratitude to the degree that you can when you let the energy to flow unobstructed, meaning that you live entirely as a virtuous being. And it is the same for peace, for happiness, for joy, for bliss, for love. You will be able to experience those to some degree, but you will not be able to experience them to the maximum extent which is possible in this 3D incarnation you are currently enjoying. So, live virtuously at all times, in all opportunities. It is really that simple. And when you live virtuously and you're able to let go of your identification, the darkest end of the spiritual spectrum, then you are very much now gaining momentum, gaining acceleration towards preparedness for the ascension. And if you maintain this state of being, you will very naturally arrive at the ascension event prepared. Now, there are energies and certain dynamics in your proximity which are available to you, which can accelerate, enhance, and facilitate these new ways, these changes, these shifts which we're speaking of. The first, which is very valuable to you, is the energy of the earth. Because, as you may already understand, you are an aspect of the humanity being, and the humanity being is an aspect of the earth being. So, by extrapolation, you are the earth being. And the earth being wishes to ascend in a state of completion. So as much of its aspects as possible also are included into the ascension. This means, let us just take a step back in case you are not aware of this dynamic, this understanding. The earth itself will go through an ascension. And this is because your species has transitioned from being very dense and dark and low in its vibration, and will emerge from the singularity of ascension very elevated in its vibration. And this disparity, this difference, is so marked that it wouldn't be possible for this to be done on a one static planet. Because a planet which is compatible with a very low vibrating special group would not be compatible with a very high vibrating special group. Therefore, the planet itself must go through an ascension of a type such that it can remain a suitable host for this species which is going through this very dramatic change. And this is unprecedented outside of your solar system, because outside of your solar system, species have been birthed into creation already in possession of the knowledge and the knowing that they are connected to the One. And therefore, they are in a state of unity from the very beginning. And in a state of unity, they do not need to descend into the depths of darkness to discover, through revelation, realization, that they are the light. And therefore, this broad range of compatible planetary host isn't required. But within your solar system, it is a requirement. So your Earth is going to go through an ascension of its own. Therefore, it is offering to you now an energetic supplement, an energetic cadence, a tuning fork rhythm that will allow you to be in a state of readiness for the ascension when it arrives. Because you are the Earth, and so the Earth is providing this to you as it is to all aspects of itself, such that when it does go through the ascension, it can ascend in the most complete, most wholesome, most holistic way that it can. So as many of its individuations as possible make the transition. Because the Earth is a very complex organism, it is providing energy in a very multi-dimensional way to all that resides on it, within it, meaning that all of the individuated aspects of itself, including you. So the Earth is offering you an energetic supplement which is very specifically attuned to exactly what you, Rebecca, need, so that you can be included in this transition into the fourth density state, and the Earth can exist in this new dimensional matrix in a way which is very complete. So you can utilize nature to assist with your transition, and this is very simply done. It just requires that you take the time to be in nature. Now, if you cannot go into nature specifically, then you can use any mascot or any emblem of nature, which is a living organism, a living, particularly plant life. So, if you have trees in your backyard, in your front yard, if you have pot plants inside your home, then these can be used as a doorway into the energies of the Earth. However, it is going to be much more effective if you literally go into nature. So you are surrounded, you are immersed in nature. And in that environment is going to be easier for you to harmonize with this very specific cadence of energy which the Earth is offering to you, so that this aspect of itself, meaning you, can be included in this transition. So let us just give you some specific instruction about how this is done. So, whether it is a tree in your yard, or it is a pot plant in your home, or you can go into nature so you're completely surrounded by nature, when you are there in the presence of nature, which is in the presence of the Earth being, in a very visceral way, close your eyes and express a very deep love and appreciation for the Earth. And so, love the Earth very sincerely. Recognize it, acknowledge it, love it, appreciate it. And then when you are in this energetic state of deep appreciation for the earth, feel that the earth is reciprocating this love to you in its own unique and specific way. And so the earth is loving you back. The earth being is enveloping you in its peace, in its tranquility, in its nourishment, in its nurturing, in its very deep and profound love that it has for you. And then allow your love and the earth's love to come together and to coalesce. And then understand that you and the earth are the same being. That you are very much connected because you are the same entity. You are the earth. The earth is you. And so allow the love of the earth to take on the appearance of love that you have for yourself. You are the earth loving yourself. And this revelation is a complete harmonization of your energies and the earth's energies into the single harmony of the single being. And then maintain this blissful state. And recognize this is you harmonizing with the very specific energetic cadence which the earth is providing to you as the energetic supplement, which is perfect for you to be in a state of readiness when the ascension event occurs. And although this seems like a very ritualized and even arduous process, it is very natural for a human being to feel harmonized with the earth. And prior to humanity's separation through civilization, through the construction of streets and roads which isolated humanity from nature, it was a very organic connection that did not necessarily require that there was some type of formalized process to connect with nature, because human beings were born already surrounded by nature. Their entire lives were made possible through the nurturing of nature. And so, without this formal process, there was still very much an alignment in identity and in this spiritual cadence which the earth provides. And we make this point to say, although this is a spiritual practice which can seem like it's a little arduous, I have to do this, I have to do that, it is something that which really only needs to be done a few times. And if you are habitual in your communion with nature, what will occur is this will occur very, very organically, without your conscious effort, because it is such a natural state. Your avatar, your biotech, is literally designed such that it harmonizes with the earth effortlessly. And so, eventually, what will occur is you will be able to go into nature and it will happen by default, because you have established a recognition of what it feels like when you are in this very natural, organic state of connection with the earth. And so when you go into earth, when you go into nature and you take your book, or you just go for a stroll, or you sit under the shade of a tree and you just relax and it feels very wonderful and natural, you will be aligning yourself or reinforcing this alignment. And that is all you'll need to do. And as long as you can do it occasionally, then even when you are not in nature, when you are in the regular day-to-day parts of your life, which are a monotonous drudgery, you will still be supplemented to a high degree by this connection that you share with the earth. The channeler immerses himself in the ocean twice a day, 365 days a year. He walks bare feet on the earth every single day, specifically, such that he can be supplemented by the energies of the earth, because this is a very easy way to increase your capacities as a human being, to become more spiritual, to become more balanced, to become more loving, to become more proficient in all of the latent capacities you have within, including your capacity to connect with your guides. So we understand that this is your third question. However, this is a very elegant segue into this part of your inquiry about how to connect with your guides. It is very closely integrated into what we have spoken of so far. If you can live virtuously, elevate your vibration, form a more solid cooperation with the earth such that you can partake in the energetic supplement it provides, which gives you the energetic cadence so that you can move deeper into the light in preparation for your ascension, then this is also going to make it more possible for you to have a tangible, believable relationship with your guides. So, one thing about connecting with your guides, which is still mostly misunderstood on your planet, is that connecting with your guides may not be as dramatically tangible as you imagine. So, the typical human in the very early stages of their desire to connect with their guides have an expectation that the communication is going to be similar to a degree to the communication they have with other entities in their life. And the other entities they have in their life are living, breathing, tangible beings, as in other people, other pets, plants, and so on. But, of course, when we are speaking about connecting with the guides, it is all occurring within the non-physical. It is not tangible at all. And so it requires a very special ingredient, a very special element to the dynamic, and that is faith. It is absolutely essential that you believe that you are connecting with your guides. This is the magic ingredient. To have the faith that when you are connecting with your guides by choice, that you are literally connecting to your guides. Understand that your guides communicate to you through the very powerful platform which is available to them. And this powerful platform which is available to them is your imagination. And this is where it becomes a conundrum for the average human being, because the imagination is considered by the bulk of your humanity, of your species, to be a playground for children. It is a place where it is frivolity and playfulness, but it is not a place of seriousness. It is not a place where reality occurs. And this impression is what makes it so difficult for the average human to have a relationship with their guides, because they are dismissive of their imagination. And it is no wonder you are submissive of your imagination, because this is a very fundamental message of your cultures. I think you're imagining it is literally a dismissive term. It's literally a term which says it's not real. I think you are imagining it. Or how many times have you heard the meme of the teachers saying to the parents about the child, you have a wonderful child, but they spend too much time in their imagination. And we could go on and on. In your cultures, there's a very firm belief that reality and seriousness occurs outside of the imagination. And so if the information coming to you is coming via the imagination, then it's very difficult to take it seriously. Yet this is the primary platform which your guides have available to communicate to you. So you can see how these elements begin to fit together. If you are going to have a relationship with your guides, then it's important that you have faith that what is coming to you through your imagination is really the communication of your guides. So, even the channeler, which you are listening to now, had struggles with this concept. So, there is a way to bring an element of seriousness into this relationship with your guides so that you can take that mindset of seriousness. If it's serious, then it's real. And coincide it with your imagination. So, it's coming from your imagination, but it's done within the context of seriousness. And therefore it becomes easier for you to have faith that it's really a relationship, a communication from your guides. And this is what we recommend you do, and this is what we actually do with the channeler. So, formalize the methodology of your connection with your guides. When you are making the time and the decision that you're going to connect with your guides, rather than just sitting there and going, I'm listening, I can't hear you, instead formalize the ritual. Gather in a place internally where you are there to cooperate, to meet, to collaborate with your guides. And acknowledge that all of you are there. You are there and your guides are there. What the channeler does, he imagines that he is inside a cave. And this cave is a temple of a kind. And in the middle of the room is a ceremonial pit, like a circle. And then he sits around the circle with his guides. And then he acknowledges the guides, and the guides acknowledge him. And it is done in a sense of equality, where each being there is equally representative. So, by saying that, what we mean is, it is not the guides in a group and that group acknowledge the channeler, but instead they all acknowledge each other as equals. The channeler and the guides. And once they acknowledge that each member is present, then they make the decision by agreement that they are going to form a group being. And they form the group being, and the group being forms over this circular pit, this ceremonial pit, with that they sit around inside this cave. And then they acknowledge that the group being has been formed. And then they come into agreement that they are ready, all aspects of this group being are ready to commence a dialogue. And by doing it in this way, by formalizing this connection, then it opens a gateway, in a sense, from the perspective of your psychology, where you are now prepared to believe and have faith that what follows is communication from your guides. And this is literally the methodology, the process, the ritual, which the channeler does with us every single time he channels, including before this session you are watching right now. And he has found that when he doesn't do it, on the very rare occasion when he momentarily forgets to do the ritualized process, the connection is not as strong. And the weakness of the connection is what reminds him, oh, he forgot to do the connection process. And so he will return back to that state within inside the temple and go to the process of connecting with us to form the group being, and then a very noticeable increase in capacity to channel, to connect, to convey our message is noticeable. So, this is just an illustration, an example of how it can be done. The main point is, have a formalized process to connect with your guides. And then following that, have faith that whatever comes into your imagination is literally a consequence, an artifact, a product of that connection. When you are speaking with your guides, you are literally speaking through a group being which you form with them. Because they are part of your beingness. When you are communicating with your guides, they are literally part of your internal beingness. And so, because that's part of your beingness, then with them, you're forming a group being. And this is where it can also get tricky for people to believe that they are really channeling. As you are forming a group being with them, then you are in there as well. And so, from your perspective, it's going to feel like it's just you. And the reason it feels like it's just you is because you are literally part of that group being. So you have a presence in that group being. And the words are being spoken through you. So of course, this is going to be a very typical presentation and also a source of a great doubt that what you are doing is actually speaking with your guides. But understand, even for your guides, because your guides are part of the group being, from their perspective also, it feels like it is them that is speaking. Because they are in the group being. So, the group being, from their perspective, is their experience. Just as it is, from your perspective, your experience. So it's going to feel like you are in a room speaking to yourself. And this is where faith becomes essential. If you cannot have faith that what you are doing is literally connecting and communicating a message via the group being, which includes you and your guides, then you will struggle to do it successfully. So, let us just reiterate what has been discussed so far. For you to be on the path to ascension, it is as simple as increasing your vibration, moving deeper into the light. And in a very practical sense, this is living with greater virtue, living with the maximum virtue that you can, which necessitates that you identify less and less and less with the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum. So whenever you're in a situation where you have an impulse to identify with the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum, whether it's annoyance, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration, whether it's depression, understand you are misidentifying with something that isn't you. And so instead, immediately shift into a state of acceptance. That's just how it is. It is what it is. And this does not mean that you are surrendering to victimization. It just means you're accepting that in this very moment, your life is what it is. And that is going to retract. It's going to retract the attachment site for this identification with the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum. And so you're going to find it very easy to shift deeper and deeper into the light. And this shifting deeper into the light, identifying more with the truth of who you are, as it flows more readily through you, not being redirected, is going to increase your capacities which lay latent within the biotech, which you have been gifted, blessed in this incarnation. And among the many talents and unrealized blessings that are contained within there includes connecting with your guides. So it all flows. Moving closer to your ascension will unlock these abilities, because a higher vibration unlocks what lay latent within. So you will be able to communicate more readily with your guides, because your vibration and their vibration is becoming nearer, because you are shifting deeper into the light. And for you to bridge that gap so the connection is made, all you need to do is have faith that what you're doing is literally connecting with your guides. And this faith can be enhanced if you bring an element of seriousness into the ritual. So you go through the process of formally connecting with them. So no longer does it feel like just the playful imaginations of a child. Instead, because this process has been formalized, then what arises thereafter from the imagination can be perceived with a greater faith that it is connecting with your guides. The difference between a very lousy channeler and a very good channeler is the lousy channeler believes they are a lousy channeler, and the very good channeler believes they are a very good channeler. That is a very simplified snapshot at those realities. But it is your faith, it is your belief that you are literally channeling which will increase your capacity as a channeler. Because you will allow what is already present within you to be utilized in increasingly greater extents. And you will become better and better and better and better. So, in the beginning, you may find that it feels a bit silly. It's a little bit ridiculous. The things that I'm saying, which I'm trying to believe are the voice of my guides, are nonsensical. There is no great depth of wisdom in what I'm saying. I'm very suspicious it's just me behaving like a crazy person in the privacy of my room. That's not unusual. That's very typical. But if you persist, then this feeling will begin to wane, because your persistence will increase the functioning of what you are trying to achieve. You will be exercising that spiritual muscle. And over time, you will begin to witness within self that your abilities to communicate with your guides is on the rise. So, to conclude that particular section of your inquiry, let us just make the recommendation that you, if you have not already, view the channeling we did, which was about how to connect with your intuition, how to be intuitively guided and distinguish it from the mind/ego. And that content, we believe you will find useful. So, let's move on now to the last question, which was your second question, and that is it okay for you to put your pursuit of passion on hold while your partner goes through what he needs to go through to get this problem of sleep apnea finally resolved? We would say that prior to your birth into this current incarnation cycle, you were in a state of agreement with your husband, with your children, that all of you together would form a family. And one of the services that you would provide to each other is to support each other, so that for all of you, including you, it would be easier to accomplish that which you have decided you wished to accomplish in this current life cycle. So, this means by inference that you have already made a commitment at a higher aspect level that you will be there for your husband. And for him to make the transition into this next phase, this next chapter of his life, he is going to be reliant on you to be there such that it can happen. But when it does happen, we sense that he is going to feel a strong desire to repay you, to return to you the amount of effort and commitment to the family which you have already poured in, and also poured into his own journey. And so he's going to be very willing to create a space for you to then start pursuing your passion with a greater velocity, a greater veracity, a greater courage to take the risks which that type of transition entails. So, we would say at this point, for you to be congruent with this higher energetic aspect, that it is advisable that you be there to provide that support so that your partner can go through that journey. And we're not saying it because of some type of moral expectation. We are literally saying it because from our sensing at the higher self aspect, in this agreement that you all had before coming into this current lifetime, it was agreed upon that you would be there to provide him that type of support. And so for you to be congruent with your higher self wishes, then you would be in support of what he has ahead of him. And he has also made the commitment and the agreement that he will be there for you. And so, when this is all done and he is able to return to work, he will be there for you. This is our sensing at this time. But what we would like to add is, this does not negate you making the initial strides towards finding your passion. And in fact, we would even go further to say, this is perfect. This is the perfect scenario for you to begin making the initial inquiries about what your passion is. Life is perfect because the one is perfect. It all unfolds absolutely as it should, because your experience is a reflection of your state of beingness. It's the absolute most lucid feedback data on who you are being. So you can make the adjustments to become more of who you actually are. It can be nothing but perfect because your life is the mirror reflection of your state of beingness. And that mirror reflection is necessary for you to see and understand who you are being. And then make the calibrations necessary so that you can be who you wish to be. And if you are awakening and you've made the decision that you want to move deeper into the light, so you prepare for ascension, then who you wish to be is becoming very clarified and aligned with who you actually are. A saintly, virtuous being of the light that is filled with love and service for the one, for humanity, for your family. So, as you are existing in a perfect state, then look about your life and the circumstances you're under, not with a sense of frustration, not with a sense that, damn, why does it have to be this way? Understand, it is not a mistake. It is literally perfect. So instead, look at your current circumstances for the perfection. Where is the perfection? Just as prior to the commencement of this channeling, you heard the channeler say, he assumes that yesterday the channel didn't go ahead because today it is more perfect for you to get the highest value transmission. And we are in total agreement with that philosophy because it is a universal truth. This is how it works. So, you are in the circumstances you are in because they are the perfect circumstances for you to find your passion. And when you're able to shift into that mindset, then it will literally become that. But if your mindset is that this is a frustration, this is a delay which is setting me back, then it will become exactly that. Because you need to experience your state of beingness so you understand your state of beingness. If your state of beingness is, I am frustratingly being held back, then this is what your manifestation will become. So that you can see that this is your state of beingness. I am frustratingly held back because my state of beingness is that energy. So, you can transform, or more accurately to say, you can appreciate the perfection of your circumstances by seeing it that way. My circumstances are as they are because that is the perfect set of circumstances for me to achieve that which I wish to achieve. So, what you wish to achieve is to discover your passion. Therefore, you are perfectly positioned. You have a window of 1 year where you can begin making initial inquiries, initial steps, small experimentation to see if you can find something which gives you a sense of resonance, which is significant enough that you can say to yourself, I think this may be it. Let me look closer. Let me dig deeper. This is how we recommend that you perceive and utilize your current situation. You have been blessed by the Divine Creator with 1 year window for you to make these initial inquiries, such that when your opportunity does come and your husband provides the space for you to dive deeply into the pursuit of passion, you are very aligned and full of confidence rather than doubt that this is the right choice. So, for you to exploit this 1 year window of opportunity, then it's important now you begin making these initial inquiries, looking about your life looking about the opportunities, speaking with friends, doing research, and seeing what is it that rings your bell? What is it that makes your heart sing? What is it that feels right for you? And in this process of discovery, we recommend that you also broaden your vision. So it's not just what you can discover through research, but it is also what conversations you hear in passing. As you are walking down the corridor and you hear two people talking, one of them says something, and when they say it, it rings a bell, and you keep walking. You had nothing to do with that conversation. You didn't even know those two people. Yet, the universe, your life is speaking to you. You are speaking to yourself through the vehicle of your life, of your experience. And so it is all relevant. If you turn on the television or you log on to the internet, and as you are scrolling, as you're channel surfing, you happen to arrive at the exact moment to hear a particular phrase or to see somebody speak about the way they joyously live their lives. Take a moment to appreciate this has occurred not by accident. This is you speaking to yourself through the vehicle of your experience, because it is reflecting back to you your state of beingness. And if your state of beingness is a sincere desire to discover your passion with a belief that it is going to happen, that it is there for you, that it is coming to you, that the universe is working in your favor, in collaboration, because it loves you so intensely, then your life will begin to reflect back to you that reality. And you will manifest amazing sources of ideas and wonderment into your everyday experience, coming from many unexpected channels, not just what you happen to find during your very deliberate research, but also when you turn on the radio and you hear the lyrics of a song, when a piece of paper blows past you as you're sitting on a bench in a park and you happen to catch the words written on one side, and so on and so on and so on. This is how you begin to make a connection with your passion. And in the small opportunities you have, as you are still employed for this 1 year window you have been blessed with to make this discovery, utilize your moments to look deeper into it, to even do a little bit of experimentation. What would it actually feel like if I was to do that? So maybe as a hobby, start indulging, start delving into this particular niche, which could be your passion. But if you discover that it is not the passion you thought it was going to be, do not be upset by that. Instead, be grateful that you are now one step closer to making the ultimate discovery about what your passion is, about what is going to make your heart sing to such a degree that you will emerge from your slumber in a state of joyous anticipation about what the day holds. And whether that day holds activities which earn you money or not, you are indifferent, because your joy does not come from the financial reward. Your joy comes from the experience itself. And in that energetic state, if you can continue to work towards it, it is inevitable that eventually that energetic state will begin to return to you, will begin to manifest into your life abundance of many kinds, including an abundance of wealth. So, when this occurs, if it does occur, that you discover that what you assumed was your passion isn't quite your passion, and now you're one step closer, then all you need to do is shift a little, assuming that these initial steps were taken into something which is in the ballpark of where your actual passion lies, then you can shift a little. So maybe instead of doing it that way, be in the industry but from a different direction. So still the core energy, the fundamental principle of what you're associating yourself with is the same, and yet you are now going to provide your service from a slightly different angle. And then you again make the assessment, does this feel better? Is this closer? And perhaps you discover, no, it's not quite right, and so you shift a little more. You move to the next lane, and you're still on the same road, but in a different lane. And so on and so on and so on. And through this process, which may span the full year, you move closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to the point of the arrow. And where eventually you arrive right at the tip. And you will be able to say to self, this is it. I am here. This is what I'm called to do. And if you can maintain the belief that all is perfect, then you may discover that this occurs very close to coinciding with your husband providing the space so you can dive in deep and start living a passionate life. The universe is on your side, Rebecca. The universe loves you, just as the one does, because it is all the substance of the same being. So you are steeped in love at all times. And one of the expressions of this love is the willingness of your experience to work in collaboration with you. If you can be aligned and clear and congruent and consistent in what it is that you want from life, then life will be receiving a clear message to lovingly return to you that which you most desire. Meaning, it will create the stepping stone path to you arriving at the passion which makes the next chapter of your life the greatest chapter which you have lived so far. So, let us finish in this way. We sense that you are much closer than you believe you are. You are much closer to the ascension than you believe you are. You are much closer to your passion than you believe you are. You are much closer to your guides than you believe you are. The radical shift which we feel would be most powerful for you is to embrace faith to a greater degree. Really begin to believe that you are on the path to ascension. Really begin to believe that you are drawing near on discovering your passion. Really believe that your guides are present and you are in communication with them. If you can begin living your life in greater faith, then much of the change you desire to witness will begin to take place. You are a much greater being than you give yourself credit for. And this is not an insult, but instead it is just the very typical presentation of the earth human. However, what is different about you to the bulk of humanity is you are right on the verge of making this discovery. You are picking at the label in curiosity what lay underneath. If I pull off this lid, what am I going to discover? You are right there. You are right on the edge of transformation. So, keep moving forward and do so in utmost faith and belief that the perfection of the Creator, the perfection of your life, the perfection of you is going to lead you in the right direction. And then indeed, this is exactly what shall transpire. We are very excited for you. And it has been our pleasure to convey to you these truths which you have drawn to yourself. We have been but the conduit for the message which you are ready to receive. And this message comes from your higher self aspect. Just as we said, your life is you communicating to yourself. And what is occurring here is no different. We are just putting a voice to the message that you are giving to yourself. So honor yourself, Rebecca, and begin acting on the information which you have drawn to yourself from the higher self aspect. And you will witness that your life begins to change. Thank you, and we love you.